Coming to paperback and Kindle this fall, E-Steam Blast from the Past. Hell's aspiring angel takes on her demonic doppelganger in this time-traveling, action-packed E-Steam series adventure. Pre-order your copy of E-Steam Blast from the Past on Kindle with a bonus E-Steam comic going for the paperback this fall. On Tuesday, I made a video discussing Milestone Comics' return and discussed what I would have to offer Milestone Comics as a writer. And the day before, I posted on Facebook I was going to be making this video, and many comic pros and comic fans were enthusiastic about that proposal of the video, and many more were enthusiastic after I made that video. Now, there's a small group of individuals in the comic book world who are upset about me making that video talking about Milestone's return and presenting what skills I would have to offer Milestone as a writer. Now, I don't know how many people would get upset over this video, because when I look at the numbers of views on that video, and I'm going to show you that here in this screenshot, this video only got 360 views. And 360 views for a video like this in a world of 8 billion people is absolutely nothing. Moreover, when you take a look at this screenshot of my channel, you will also notice that there are videos like the one I did talking about the simp proposing marriage, and several videos I did about celebrities that have done triple those numbers and quadruple those numbers. So the small amount of people who got upset about this Milestone video, they really don't understand that this video is absolutely insignificant when you really take a critical examination of it. I mean, Dennis Cowan and Reginald Hudlin, what are the chances of them seeing this video? And if the chances of them seeing it are next to none, there is nothing to get upset about. And there's nothing to get upset about unless you are pocket watching or you are extremely emotional, because in the business of publishing, a freelancer has every right to go out here and put themselves out to let everybody know they are available for work. That's something every freelance comic writer, freelance artist, freelance journalist, and freelance videographer does. When they are available, they let people know they are available for work, and they let companies know they are available for work. They discuss their portfolios in detail. They present examples of their portfolios in detail. They send samples of their work out so that people can see their work in detail. That's all a professional does, because a freelancer understands that they aren't being paid on a salary. They are paid per project. And in this comic book industry, most freelance writers, artists, and colorists and letterers are primarily paid per project and paid on a work for hire basis. And because they are paid on a work for hire basis, they do not own any of the rights as related to the characters. They don't own any of the rights as related to the stories. And this is why they seek out work on the regular, because oftentimes in this publishing industry, when people are out here looking for projects, these projects are oftentimes erratic. You may wind up getting booked a gig, but oftentimes this gig may or may not wind up either even getting approved or even going to print, because oftentimes an editor, it'll be out of his hands and the book will wind up getting canceled for budgetary reasons, and there's nothing that that writer can do but eat those costs unless they have signed a contract where they have a kill fee where that writer gets paid for that article. And usually those kill fees aren't enough to pay your rent. Usually it's a small fee just for your time making this article, but that's what a freelancer has to deal with. This project may get off the ground, but that project may not get off the ground. And oftentimes, even if a project gets off the ground, the time that that author or that artist is on that project is not that long, especially when you think about today's comic book industry, where comics barely even last 8 issues. So a freelancer has to go out here and again look for work and keep looking for work, even if they have booked a gig, because these gigs do not really last that long. These books, oftentimes, if their sales numbers are incredibly low, will not be able to sustain themselves. And that's the nature of the business, because 90% of all books fail. And when you look at the comic book industry, 99% of all books fail. So those writers and artists like myself, we have to go out here and hustle and let people know we are looking for work on the regular, even if we manage to book a job, because we don't know how long that job is going to be, especially in today's erratic comic book industry, where a book can wind up getting canceled either due to low sales, or that book can get canceled due to editorial going out here and rebooting the entire series. So that creator has to go out here and continue to send out their samples, because they don't know if this job is going to last. So that's why you'll see people like myself talking about what I have to offer, because we don't know what the next job is going to be or how long the next job is going to be. And with many of these jobs not lasting that long and not paying that much, because your average comic pro on the high levels only makes $250 a page, and that's for pencilers. Writers barely make maybe $110. And if you do the math, and I've done the math on your writers at $110 a page times 22, that equals $2,420. $2,420 in New York City won't even pay your rent in poor neighborhoods like I live in. And your high-end artists who make $250 a page times 22, they make $5,500. And in both cases, $2,420 and $5,500, you also have to go out here and pay your taxes. You also have to go out here and pay your health care, and you also have to go out here and pay other bills. So your average comic pro, they're not making that much money per project. And with the erratic nature of the business, that's why you will see someone like myself talking about what skills I have to offer as a writer, because I'm looking for work on the regular. And that's something every freelance writer out here does, is look for work on the regular, let people know they are available for work on the regular, because they want to go out here and book a gig, and they want to be able to book that gig very quickly, because if people don't know you're available for work, then you're not going to be able to pay your bills for the rest of the year. I mean, again, these gigs, they don't last long. The pay is very small, and that's something a lot of writers do because they're very passionate about their craft. They're very passionate about the stories that they want to tell, and they oftentimes have other jobs that they're doing in addition to the writing. And that's something else a lot of people who are upset about this Milestone video don't understand, is I have not had a full-time job anywhere for a couple of years now, and this was a chance for me to go and again present my work experience as related to my publication history and publication background, and an opportunity for me to present what I have to offer almost 25 years after I applied for Milestone back in 1994. And I didn't get a response back then. I'm not expecting a response right now. But what I'm trying to do is, again, show how I have grown in my craft, building the SJS Direct imprint, working on serialized books like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and books like Spinsterella Trilogy, and showing how I can work within a shared universe and the continuity of a shared universe. That's what I was presenting in that video, and that seemed to make some of these people out here in the comic book world very salty that I was going out here presenting my background, my experience, and my skills. And I'm sorry if you are upset about me presenting my background to a competing publisher, because that's the business out here. All writers and artists do this. I mean, George Perez, the legendary comic artist who did Avengers, Teen Titans, and Justice League, back in 1980 was working for both Marvel and DC at the same time. And at that time, he was working on a storied run of the Avengers. He was working on Justice League of America, and he was working on the new Teen Titans. And he was able to do that because he had not signed an exclusive contract with either Marvel or DC, and because he did not sign an exclusive contract with Marvel or DC, he could go out here and work for both companies at the same time. And both Marvel and DC didn't care at the same time because they wanted to get those sales for their books. All they were thinking about back in 1980 was all about getting those sales, and they saw that George Perez was a stellar penciler who was ranking up high sales numbers, and they wanted to get those high sales numbers. Now, after 1980, your DC managed to get George Perez on an exclusive contract, and that's how we got one of the most storied runs in DC Comics history, the Wolfman Perez New Teen Titans, and that's how we also got Crisis of Infinite Earths and George Perez's legendary Wonder Woman run, because DC Comics was willing to make George Perez an offer, and they were willing to present him with enough money to make him comfortable in their exclusive contract so that he could go out here and pay his bills and not worry about anything other than being creative. But a lot of haters are out here are upset about me trying to go out here and look for the same work, and they're thinking, oh, he's looking for work with other people, but that is the nature of the publishing business. In the publishing business, freelancers go out here and go out here and let it be known they're looking for jobs. I know many comic artists out here who let it be known that they're looking for work, and they'll sit, and many comic creators sitting there saying, hey, I'm looking for an artist for work. And I was on a Facebook group talking about comic artists seeking commissions, and these guys let it be known, hey, I'm available for a commission, I'm available for a project, let's talk about the numbers, and let's get this project done. Usually a guy will say, like myself, oh, I've got this ISIS graphic novel I'm trying to do, it's going to be 51 pages, I have a certain budget for this, and I'm looking for an artist who can do it for maybe $80 to $100 a page. And once I put that proposal out there, people come and let me take a look at their portfolios. They let me look at their pages. And if I like what I see, I make an offer. And that's what the same thing I was proposing as related to that Milestone video. I'm presenting my work and letting people in Milestone editorial know what I have to offer, that I'm available for work in the future, and that I'm ready to go out here and put in whatever work if it's offered to me. I mean, that whole video was not about me trying to go out here and promote Milestone. No, while I'm a big fan of the Milestone comics back in the day, I wanted to show how I grew and evolved and had skills that I had to offer this company. Just like a couple of years ago, I made the same offer to Dynamite Comics, and Dynamite Comics on Twitter sent me a link to their email, and I wrote a query letter to them talking about how I write strong heroines, and I really have a good background in heroines, and I would be a good asset to their company. I wrote Dynamite Comics that letter and sent it to them. I even sent them some sample scripts. I have not heard anything from Dynamite Comics, but my relationship with Dynamite Comics is still pretty cool, because on Twitter, they oftentimes retweet my tweets and where I review many of their comics and promote their comics. So it's all about business and nothing personal when it comes down to a lot of these comic book companies. When you're in this business, it's all about you trying to, again, get these gigs and trying to book these gigs and hope these gigs last long enough. And that's something most people don't really understand about this business. Unless you, again, have an exclusive contract with one of these companies, you are open to go out here and look for work. And you best go out here and look for work because, again, oftentimes these books get canceled either in the proposal stage or they get canceled midway when the sales start to drop. And if you don't have a safety net for yourself as a self-employed freelance individual, you're going to wind up struggling for a couple of months, and sometimes, in some cases, maybe a year or two, because you don't have anything lined up to catch that book that wound up not really making anything at all, because that book that you were so-called counting on may not be a hit. And again, in a market where 90% of all books fail, you have to have a safety net. And some writers, we have a safety net where we'll get a full-time job and do these comics on the side. Others will go out here and do these books, because they like them and love them, and they'll do 2 or 3 books together. I mean, I've heard of writers working on 2 and 3 projects like I do, and they do that because one book may wind up dying at one company, and another book may wind up thriving at the other company, and one company may wind up having issues with their money and not be able to pay you. That has always been the nature of the business, and a writer has to adapt to that nature of the business. And that's something I want people to understand about this freelance business. They're thinking, oh, he's going to get a come up if he gets a job at Milestone. But that job, even if I were to actually get it, and we don't even know what's going on at Milestone right now, because Milestone may have announced its return, but we don't have any titles listed. We don't have any creative teams listed. We don't have any information about Milestone outside of a few titles they have said are going to come out. And again, it's an announcement and it means nothing. And again, when a publisher announces they're coming out, a lot of things can happen in between that book being between that announcement and the book coming out, because Milestone before announced it was returning, and we didn't see anything for a good 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And now in 2020, we see them announcing a comeback again, and we may not see anything materialize from it at all. And again, that is the nature of the business. And a lot of people out here need to understand the nature of this publishing business is, again, a very erratic one, a very rough one, and you can have a deal right now, but unless you got the check cashed and the money in your pocket, you don't have anything at all. Because again, in the freelance business, that's why people go out here and look for other jobs, and that's why people will work for maybe 2 or 3 different companies. And I've seen that with Mags Visaggio working for IDW, and Cena Grace working for IDW and Action Lab and other comic companies at the same time. And again, this is all about comic pros going out here and looking for work. And that's not about any sort of political affiliation or social affiliation. That is the nature of this business. It's been the nature of this business for over 80 years. Freelancers go out here, they put their card out, let people know they're available, and if they don't have a contract with a company, they can go out here and seek out any employer for employment. And again, these jobs, again, they pay anywhere from maybe $2,000 at the top range for a writer to $5,500 for the top range for a penciler. And again, when you're living in New York City, that's not even enough money to cover rent on a studio apartment here in the Bronx. So a writer has to supplement that work, and a lot of times writers do supplement that work by having full-time jobs, and they also supplement that work by taking other jobs with other companies, or they wind up taking multiple books in order to make a living. Because when you do 5,500 times 12, I'm going to do the math on that. It's not that much money. I mean, $5,500 a month times 12 is $66,000 a year, and that's for a top tier artist. And for a writer making $2,425 at the top tier at $110 a page times 12, that's $29,100. I mean, that's below the poverty line when you think about it. Most comic writers barely make poverty line wages, and they have to go out here and seek out other jobs, because one job on a project is not enough, especially when these projects get canceled at the 6th or 8th issue. That writer has to find another job, because the wages he's getting or she's getting is not enough money to really live on. That's why, again, freelancers are always seeking out other gigs and always constantly looking for other gigs, because their ability to make money is very limited, and that's something people really have to understand about this business. And that's one of the problems that I saw some of these people who were upset about my Milestone video having. They had a serious problem about me presenting that offer out here. But again, this is the nature of the business, and writers have to go out here to make other offers, because the money just is so small, and you have to work multiple gigs in order to make enough money to barely pay your rent. So that's what I'm hoping everybody understands about this Milestone video that has some people all upset. Out of that 360 viewers of that video, I'm hoping this gives you some understanding about the business, about economics, and about how a writer has to go out here and hustle in order to get enough jobs in order to make a living. Now, if you want to help me continue to be able to build things like my SJS Direct imprint, you can go over to Amazon.com and pick up my books in the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the Spinsterella trilogy, or you can pick up some of my men's issues books there as well. Or if you really want to help me work on the next ISIS graphic novel or pay for the covers on the next book, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Bride of Dracula. The Goddess Next Door and John Haynes team up to take on the Dark Vampire in this action-packed Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Bride of Dracula in paperback and e-reader